Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Time Out with Derek and Joe. For Joe Azalina, I am Derek Gano. Thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to our podcast. We will be putting up a new episode, not on our normal date. It's going to be pushed to Tuesday, but we are putting up this video today, Sunday, because Joe, we wanted to throw out this topic real quick before it gets started.
Right, exactly. All the listeners that you're watching the Major League Baseball playoffs, you all know that the four teams are set for the League Championship Series. We'll get into that a little later on, but for now, we are going to come to you with our recaps of sorts of the series that I thought they were all pretty pretty interesting games. There's some weren't as good as the others, but we're going to start out in the American League, and that was the Tampa Bay Rays and the New York Yankees. And game one, the Yankees absolutely didn't really leave a doubt. They won 9-3. Garrett Cole pitched a great game, and the Rays couldn't solve him. So the Yanks, a good win for New York in game one. Game two, the Rays actually edged them out 7-5, and we'll get into some players as we move on to with the winning team. Game three, the Rays also took it 8-4, and you kind of started to see this series swing a little bit here with the Rays getting two in a row. But game four, the Yankees, they're the Yankees, so you know they're not done yet. Game four, 5-1, Yanks win, and then game five, Derek, was the Rays who took it 2-1. And, just your thoughts on New York going home a little early and just, what do you think about maybe Tampa? Not so much prediction-wise, but what do you think about, Tampa kind of outlasting the bigger foe, if you will?
Yeah, and I believe if you look in our previous video, I think all of us ended up taking the Yankees. So I was a little shocked when they went down. Now, we talked about the reason most of us picked them was because of the hitting, and the hitting kind of slowed down a little bit in this series. You look at guys like Voit and Gio Urshela and Aaron Judge. They all hit either 150 or less. So in the division series, now Giancarlo Stanton really showed up in this series. He had 4 homers, 10 RBIs, but the rest of the lineup was kind of quiet. Now there were a lot of home runs in this series, and Garrett Cole put out he did what he could. He threw 17 Ks in a little over 11 innings, and he came out there. He had a no-hitter going for a while in game 5, but he couldn't quite. They needed to hit a little bit. They threw out a couple questionable decisions. Did the Yankees? We mentioned J. Happ coming in very early in game 2 that they ended up losing 7-5. J. Happ gave up a couple runs and pitching out of the bullpen, which he hadn't done all year. I thought Garcia he only threw 1 inning, gave up 1 run, but I thought they could have stretched him out a little bit. Tanaka did not pitch well in game 3. Ended up being another loss. Jordan Montgomery was a positive for them in game 4, in which they got the win. He pitched very well. But then once again, and if you're on Facebook or Twitter or anything, you see the memes of Aroldis Chapman, the second year in a row that he's given up the game-winning home run. But hey, you can't take away from how Tampa Bay played. They were not scared. They have not been scared of the Yankees for several years now. And Arozarena is becoming a very good player, kind of out of nowhere. A rookie, but he was decent in the season, but he's really stepped up in the playoffs. 11 home runs they have. Austin Meadows came back and is healthy, so there's another bat there. Charlie Morton pitching very well in game 2 or game 3 he threw. Hey, more power to them. They manufacture runs, the Rays. And, of course, Brousseau, the game-winning home run in Game 5, he utility player, and that's got to hurt a little more for Yankees and Yankees fans. But the Yankees will be back. There's no doubt that Severino never pitched this year. James Paxton, former Mariner, never really got going this year either. So they have the talent. They have the young talent. They'll be back. But it was the Rays' year this year.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, well, you mentioned a Rays Reyna. They listen, he's one of the only guys that they actually traded for, other than Tyler Glasnow a few years ago from the Pirates. But another guy they got from the Central and the National League, he was a Cardinal. And like you said, he was a rookie. But I mean, this guy was just lights out. He just hit everything, and it seemed like every time you saw him, he was on base. So great series to him, and he'll be very interesting moving forward to watch to see if he can step up against Zach Greinke and some of those arms from Houston. I'm sure we'll get into a couple of those guys. And then Willie Adames is another guy I thought was interesting. 25-year-old shortstop, very good defensively. If he starts getting his bat going, that could be really pivotal for Tampa. But yeah, Brousseau with a huge home run, and a lot of people don't know this, but Chapman actually buzzed him early in the year, so Brousseau got his revenge. Chapman got suspended for that. So, wrapping it up, the Rays move on, and the Yanks go home.
Yep, in 5 games. Now, the team they will play is the Houston Astros. They took down the favorite. I don't know if they were favorited or not, but they had a higher seed. The Oakland Athletics were the 2 seed. Houston was the 6 seed, and Houston took them down in 4 games. Of course, the divisional series are a best of 5 this year, so these were the only 2 that actually went over 3 games, the 2 on the AL side. Now, Houston took the first game against Oakland 10-5. This series was played in Los Angeles, I believe, Dodger Stadium. Houston then took game 2, 5-2. Oakland came back with a 9-7 victory in game 3, and then Houston closed it out in 4 games at 11-6. Now, I think it was really the hitting for Houston. They had 6 hitters over a 360 average in this series. 12 home runs in just 4 games. Their bats were really going. Carlos Correa was really the one who started to step up. Now, as Phil mentioned a few weeks ago, his comments were coming out that they were going to get going. And they did. He had 11 RBIs, 3 home runs. Now, the starting pitching wasn't that great for Houston. Besides Valdez, who the rookie who actually pitched very well. But the bullpen that we kind of downplayed for Houston was actually very good. Besides Josh James was a starter earlier in the year, a lot of talent that you thought he was going to be a back-end starter, but then he got thrown in, and I believe it was the game they lost in game 3 that he really got tagged, but everyone else pitched very well. Houston moving on, and what about Oakland, Joe? What held them back, do you think?
Well, you said it. I mean, the Astros bats definitely came to life, and some of those guys are definitely guys that have done it the past couple of years, right, against the Dodgers in the World Series and in the other spots in the postseason. To be totally honest, I think Oakland, they had a really tough matchup against Chicago, and I think beating the White Sox might have took a lot out of them, especially guys like Mark Canna and Scott Olson. Those two bats really needed to come through. They had moments, right? They had Marcus Semien was really quiet. He got on base sometimes, but he didn't have any big hits. So Houston, like you said, the pitching definitely. I mean, Valdez recorded 2 wins. He's 23-year-old rookie. If he continues to pitch that way, he has a shot to be pretty huge going forward. Christian Javier, the other starter, really did a good job. But I want to mention a guy named Anolia Paredes, 25-year-old kid from the Dominican Republic, who throws fire out there. He throws, and we're not just talking about like 95. We're talking about over 100 miles an hour. He brings it. So another good arm for Houston. One of the other things I want to mention is Michael Brantley had 7 RBIs in the series. And the rookie Kyle Tucker got hot and had 10 hits. So listen, Houston, we both thought, and I don't know about Phil, I think Phil picked Oakland, but we both thought Houston's leadership and their mentality of we're not cheaters, we're going to come back and win this thing, like that going forward could be the rallying cry. So it's Houston's mantra of we messed up, but we're back, and then you got Tampa's underdog mentality. What a series, and we'll get to it later, but what a series that could be.
Yeah, and just a few things about Oakland. I mean, and you mentioned it, and you said it in the preview of this series, was guys like Matt Olson and Mark Canna, they in the middle of that lineup, they needed a hit, and they didn't hit. 214 for Olson, and we talked about this as well. Two of his 3 hits were home runs for Matt Olson. Mark Canna had a home run, only hit 200. They just never really got much going. They got a couple runs each game, but Marcus Semien did hit 533. I'll give him his due, but all the starters were just not very good for the Athletics, unfortunately. Bassett got hit, gave up a couple runs. I know Montas started. He didn't get – Luzardo got hit. So and that was really the strength of the team, was the pitching and the relief pitching, and they got hit. So it was tough. And as you said, it should be a good series with Houston and Tampa Bay moving forward.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think there's much else to say but that I look at it to go 5 or 6, to tell you the truth. I think both teams will – I can see it being like 1-1, and then it's going to depend on games 2 and 3. And look for Zach Greinke to become really, really important here, right? Because he's the veteran, and he's been in big games, and I look to him to have probably a big series. And if that's the case, Houston might be able to go to the World Series again. So, well, moving on, Derek, we're going to go to the National League, and a league I follow closely, as you know, and our listeners probably know by now. The Los Angeles Dodgers, a team that I've got to do my homework on because I didn't get to watch them a lot. I don't stay up and watch a lot of baseball late at night. But the Dodgers won Game 1 5-1. It was behind their ace, Walker Buehler. It sounds weird we say Walker Buehler, but he's arrived, and he's really good, right? Game 2 was I'm pretty sure that was Kershaw, right? Did he throw Game 2, if I'm not mistaken? Yeah.
Yep.
So they won that one 6-5, a little closer. The bullpen, Jansen, those guys come in. The Dodgers hit a little bit, and Game 3 was easy, 12-3. Couple things that stand out. Max Muncy, a guy that's really underrated, an infielder. In 15 plate appearances, he had 3 hits and 3 runs scored. Doesn't sound like a lot, but anything he gives them is a bonus, and he's a really good, solid player. Also, Mookie Betts will be very, very, very important going forward. 28-year-old outfielder from the Red Sox. He scored a lot of runs, 2 doubles, and he hit a home run. And then, but I got to ask you, their offense, we know what we're going to get from them. Bellinger, you got Peterson. All these guys can hit. Derek, do you think the matchup with Atlanta – and I know, again, there wasn't much to talk about with this Dodgers matchup here. They really just blew through it. My question to you is, the Padres looked pretty good, but they were overmatched. Do you think the Dodgers pitching is going to be able to overmatch the Braves?
Well, in the playoffs, at least, it seems like these are the two best staffs. Is the Braves, and you wouldn't have said that about the Braves, at least mid-season or so. They were really struggling with getting pitchers out there, but they've had it, and we'll talk about them in a bit. A couple of their guys have really stepped up. But here's this stat: the Dodgers they threw a total of 12 pitchers. 8 of them didn't give up a run in the NLDS. So, and mostly it was all the bullpen. Buehler gave up a run, Kershaw 3. Now, that tells me that they have that down pat, that bullpen, and that's a scary thought, because you thought if there was maybe one small tough spot for the Dodgers, it may have been the bullpen. Kenley Jansen's still a little shaky. He gave up 2 runs in an inning in the third in this division series, so he's still a little iffy. But Julio Urias really pitched well in Game 3. He was the what do they call it? There was an opener for him, and then he came in the second inning. Through 5 innings of very good ball. It's scary. It's scary. Not a lot of the hitters jumped out to you. I know Bellinger had a very good game in Game 3 to close it out, 5 RBIs total. But 7 guys over 300 in the Division Series. They hit the cover off the ball. Now, was that because of the Padres? So, I mean, and we talked about it last time, Lamet and Clevenger were both kind of up in the air. Lamet did not pitch. Clevenger pitched, I believe, 1 inning in Game 2 before he got pulled. So they just didn't have the pitching to match the Dodgers. And a lot of their big hitters, 6 regulars hit under 200. So you're not going to win a series with that. You need people like Machado and Tatis and Myers and Hosmer to really get going, and they never got going. 7.33 ERA. They just gave up too many runs, and like you said, the second game was close, but the other 2 really weren't. And I think this will be an amazing series with the Braves.
Credit to, and I didn't want to slight the Padres in the least. I just think the Dodgers really put it on them, like we said, and the Padres will be back next year. There's no doubt about it. Let's not forget that. They're really young, and they might get another arm, they might get another bat, and they're really doing good out in San Diego. Just postseason wasn't their time. 35 strikeouts, though, Derek, between Kershaw and Buehler. That's, talk about, like, if that happens come this league championship series, Atlanta, good pitching means good hitting. It's kind of the Dodgers thing, right? I mean, Atlanta's got the bats, but if Freddie Freeman doesn't wake up, which we'll talk about, that's really going to be difficult for Atlanta to overcome, I think. So
so we'll go on here to the last divisional series, and our second sweep between the Atlanta Braves, the 2 seed, and the number 6 seed. Miami Marlins, who upset the Chicago Cubs, and Atlanta kind of ran away with it. The first 2 games were pretty close throughout, but the third one they kind of mashed and shut down the Marlins. The first game was 9-5. Atlanta took it, followed by 2-0 and then 7-0. If you would have went into the series saying, hey, Max Fried is going to get hit in Game 1, and you, as a Braves fan, you probably would have said, oh boy. But Ian Anderson and Kyle Wright have been amazing, Joe. They've been amazing.
Well, unfortunately, I saw a lot of them this season, and we're going to see a lot of them in the years to come. But right now, they're on a mission. Yeah, Ian Anderson, he had 2 wins to go in his postseason. He has 17 strikeouts and only given up 5 hits, and that says a lot for a kid that pitched AAA ball last year. So he's ready to go. Max Fried had 11 innings, pitched 12. Now he's giving up some hits, but he seems to get out of trouble. It's not like he stays in guys on base. He kind of pitches out of trouble. Be interesting to see what he can do with a really dangerous Dodgers lineup. And in a little bit, we'll talk about the matchup. And those lineups are interesting. They're so heavy from top to bottom. I just want to point out that the role players for Atlanta, I said it before, Duvall and even an Ozzy Albies. If those guys hit and you have guys like Freeman and Acuna hit, oh boy, this could be one of the best. This could be one of the best NLCSs we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Pitching.
Yeah.
I mean, you have so many. Just they're so similar how they beat you.
Yeah, I mentioned the Dodgers had 8 pitchers who had no earned runs given up in the series. Atlanta had 9 pitchers who didn't give up an earned run in the series, and a lot of them were bullpen guys. And you wonder which one is going to crack. One of them is going to crack eventually. Now, how many RBIs would they have had? Maybe 19 or so. Travis d'Arnaud, a name that'll make my dad mad as a Mets fan. He didn't play for them.
Yeah.
But d'Arnaud and Swanson combined for 12 RBIs, and those two were really – and you don't even think about them. You think of the Freemans and the Acunas and Albies and Ozuna. And then it's Swanson and d'Arnaud who are the ones who killed the Marlins. As far as the Marlins, I mean, Sixto didn't pitch too well in Game 3. Yumi Garcia, I would say he's their setup guy, kind of got blasted and it kind of blew the game a little bit in Game 1. Pablo Lopez would pitch well in Game 2, but no Starling Marte. I'm sure that hurt. Every one of the regulars I saw hit under 250 in the series, and that's going to happen when nobody is giving up runs. So, San Diego and future's bright for Miami. They'll be back. No for them.
Oh yeah, they'll pick up some pieces. Yep, that's. I also think that Chris Martin, Mark Melanson, those guys need to be mentioned. Shane Green, big pickup last season for Atlanta from Detroit. Those guys are big name pitchers, and if they can do the job, AJ Minter's another name to watch for the lefty. So, and that's big for Peterson and Bellinger, right? They could really do a number of those guys. So, Atlanta, LA, it's going to be a really good series to watch. It's really going to be.
So we'll move into the championship series here. Why don't we just stay on that side where we've been talking about the two of them here? We'll just stay on the NLCS to start. Now, I don't know if there's much to add here, but the Dodgers and the Atlanta Braves, they've been 1-2 for most of the season. So the Dodgers finished with the best record in baseball, 43-17. Atlanta was 35-25. You have to figure the Dodgers are going to be throwing out Buehler and Kershaw 1-2. Who they go in 3 and 4 is kind of up in the air. You look at May. You look at supposedly Gonsolin was going to be throwing Game 4 if it got to a Game 4 with San Diego. Urias could be in there. Now, as far as Atlanta, they're going to go probably Max Fried, Ian Anderson, and Kyle Wright. If they do anything in the 4th game, maybe a bullpen game, not too sure. But
look for Sean Newcomb, because he used to be a starter lefty out of the bullpen. He could be a guy they look at Game 4, just a guess, but you're right. Could be a full bullpen game, or could be somebody we're not thinking of.
Well, they really shaved that. They had the same 9 starters in the hitting lineup for all 3 games. So they didn't really have many hitters on the bullpen. They had a lot of pitchers. I think they may do the same thing. They trust their core 9, and I think Hachi went out and played the outfield to end the game, but they're just going to bring a bunch of pitching. And, I mean, so we wrote down keys for each team to win the series. We'll start with you, Joe, for the Dodgers. What is your key to Miami win? Now, by the way, this game will be played in Arlington, Texas, starting on Monday. So tomorrow it'll start up. What's your key for the Dodgers to win this series?
Well, I love to say it has to focus on their bats because, again, they have the bats. Betts, Bellinger, and Peterson right there, the 3 outfielders. But I think it's going to focus on their pitching. I think it's going to be can arms like Buehler, Kershaw, Urias, like you said, a possible May, can they shut down a really, really dangerous lineup in Atlanta? I think it's got to be the arms for LA.
I wrote just 2 down here. I have that, and just kind of what I talked about. LA has a ton of depth. Hitting wise, pitching, not only pitching, but hitting. They have a lot of guys that they can go to, whereas Atlanta, like I said, kind of have a core 9, and that's about it. Nothing wrong with that. Just there's a lot more options off the bench if something were to happen for the Dodgers. And I wrote a hunger for a title. The Dodgers have to want this so badly because 8 straight division titles they've had now. So, and 2 of the last 3 NL pennants. They're right on the cusp. They keep making moves, and I have to think they want it really badly. They know they're the best.
Do you think too, though, that Atlanta, who, and again, all these teams have gotten now, these 4 have gotten there through COVID and everything like that, right? It was a crazy season. But Atlanta has to feel kind of like they're forgotten here. Houston has the cheating thing. Tampa Bay is the best team in baseball, or close. LA is the best team in the National League and probably baseball. What's Atlanta's thing here? Well, I'll tell you one thing it could be is that how about Markakis and Ozuna, both free agents, both probably not coming back. So could they rally around guys? And of course, Freddie Freeman, the guy, battled COVID early. Now I didn't want to jump in Atlanta. I'm just saying that could be the rallying cry in a way.
Yeah, and you kind of said it. Everyone may be looking, now that Houston moved on, we might be looking at another Houston, LA, or the Tampa Bay, the number 1. And a lot of people will maybe not admit it now, but probably had the Reds beating them in the first, including myself, beating them in the first. Now, Grant, I'll give myself props because I picked them to sweep for the Marlins, so no worries there. But I wrote a well-rounded lineup and a couple switch hitters, couple lefties, couple righties. They're no matter who they throw out there, the Dodgers, they're going to have a good lineup to go up against them. And the pitching staff is on fire right now between giving up a run in 2 games to the Reds, and then they had 2 shutouts against the Marlins here, and then Max Fried gave up the 4 runs in game 1, but the pitching staff is pitching very well. So I have to figure that'll come into play somewhere. But, Joe, what is your prediction? Dodgers, Braves.
Well, I've been saying all along that, and I did pick Atlanta to go to the World Series from our previous show with the Yankees, so I don't have one side. I got to stick with the Braves. I just think that they get enough pitching. Enough. I didn't say they're going to be LA, but I'm telling you, Acuna, Albies, Freeman, Ozuna, like Swats, like Darnell. I didn't mention Darnell. That lineup is so potent, and if they hit the ball like they can in warm weather, I think LA is going to be spoiled this year. I think the Braves are going to the World Series.
I mean, I went back and forth. I honestly, I think that it's crazy because I picked them to lose in the first round, but I think they're going to win it too. I think they're getting very hot at the right times.
Yep.
Pitchers that, I mean, maybe not have been in the postseason, but guys that have been around for a long time in that bullpen. Shane Green, Melanson, Darren O'Day is another name. Will Smith. They've all been there. You wonder if that pitching, those starters can't remotely keep going what they're doing. If they throw quality starts, I think they'll be fine. But if any of those guys get blown up, Kyle Wright or Anderson, it'll be interesting. But I like the set 9 lineup for the Braves, and I don't know, the Dodgers. I mean, they did only have 2 home runs in this entire postseason. They only played 5 games, but 2 home runs. So maybe their offense is not going as well as the Braves is right now. Yeah, let's take the easy way out. 7. I'll say in 7, Atlanta will go in 7. Did you have?
I also think too, Felix Hernandez and Cole Hamels never pitched an inning for Atlanta, but they are 2 guys that have been there and have done that. And Hamels, especially being a World Series MVP, I don't think for a minute that they have not talked to Fried and even Soroka, who hasn't been able to pitch. Fried and Wright and Anderson. You know, that's what this is what baseball's about. You lean on the veterans, and I think that's something that maybe we should mention a little bit. But yeah, Braves in 6.
Braves in 6. Okay. AL.
I mean, this is going to be – listen, if the National League's not going to be crazy – and I'm actually off air. I told Derek I'm actually going to be watching very closely the Seahawks game today with a good buddy of mine, and I will be on my phone though, paying attention to the Astros and the Rays. Wow, what 2 teams! Like, this is just a great story for baseball right now, right? The underdog Rays against the cheating Astros. Sounds like a WWE event.
Yeah, and they were definitely going in different directions, which during the season, which is very interesting. The Rays have been one of the top teams all season. 40-20 they finished, and then Houston, the only team in the AL, though, didn't have a winning record. 29-31.
Minnesota was going to beat them, Derek. We thought.
Yeah. Well, that's what we thought, but I mean. It should be very interesting. Houston's getting hot at the right time. Now Tampa Bay, you would think, is going to throw out. I know Snell is pitching game 1, and Charlie Morton is supposedly pitching game 2.
Last now 3.
Now probably 3 after they threw him a few innings the other day. Maybe Ryan Yarbrough in game 4, and then Houston is probably going to go with some form of, I know Valdez is starting, who pitched very well in his game. Yeah. Lance McCullers game 2, Zach Greinke game 3, and probably Jose Urquidy has been the other guy in probably game 4. What's your keys to whichever you want to start on, the Rays or the Astros?
Well, real quick, I just want to say that really interesting that Zach Greinke's pitching game 3. Because I think that means that they want to take pressure off of him. He has an anxiety disorder, which is an interesting thing. He doesn't like to pitch in big markets. We know that. Listen, my thing here is if Brantley, Springer, Altuve, just think of those names. Like, these guys have done it, man. They've been able to really progress and do well. And cheating aside, they're a good ball club. I think Houston's key to winning probably is the young arms and Valdez and not getting his name here. It's escaping me. Javier. Yeah, thank you. But I think it could be Can Houston get enough clutch hits, right? Can they get runners in scoring position and get them in? Tampa does a good job defensively, and that's something we'll talk about a couple of different positions. But can Houston get enough really good quality hits to outlast a really a really hungry Tampa team? That's my key. Houston's clutch hitting.
Yeah, well, yeah, I wrote down that their offense is finally healthy. So it seems maybe they've been missing a few guys each season or for throughout the season, but they're finally hitting very well. Correa, Altuve, and now they don't have
Bregman. I forgot Bregman.
Bregman. Yeah, they still don't have Jordan Alvarez, young hitter who's very, very strong, very good. And of course the bullpen has been pitching very well for them. Now Tampa Bay, I have that how they've consistently been the best all season. Whereas the Astros, they've had parts where they've gone on skids and not been hitting very well, but the Rays have been consistent at the top all season. Supposedly they match up very well with the Astros because they have a lot of right-handed pitching out of the bullpen. Whereas the Astros kind of lean right-handed heavy as opposed to, you have your Reddicks and your Brantleys, but most of their core lineup is right-handed. They say good pitching beats good hitting. This will be the proof if this happens. But I say the Rays. I think the Rays pull it out. It's going to completely not be the series that people want or think in Houston and the LA. I'm going Braves and Tampa Bay Rays. Give me them in 6. And that's my side. What's your key for the Rays and what's your pick, Joe?
Well, the Rays are led by Randy Arozarena. We just talked about him. He's so good. I think it's this simple. Listen, Brosard, they have so many good players, but if Arozarena can stay hot and he does well, drives in the runs and gets more help, I think that could be a key. And again, they're pitching. Houston has these veterans, so Tampa has some young players. It's kind of like a difference of both, but I think Tampa is going to actually struggle a little bit when it comes to shutting the big guys down. Bregman's not been hot yet, right? Brantley has. Can Brantley continue it? It's just going to depend on Houston's bats. All right, listen, I'm going to go Tampa. I'm going to actually go Houston in this. I'm going to go Houston, and I'm going to surprise everybody. I'm going to say Houston in 5. And the reason I'm saying it is because I think the Astros pitching is going to be good enough. If they somehow get to a 2-0 lead, forget about it because Greinke's waiting in game 3. I think Houston's bats are too much. I think it's Houston-Atlanta. It's a former big-time Central East matchup from the old National League and Astros-Braves.
Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't be shocked. If people like Arozarena or Brandon Lau, who was very good for Tampa Bay in the regular season but really hasn't shown up in the postseason, if those guys don't come through with big hits, I think it could be over very fast because Houston's been there for a few years now. They've been in that position, whereas Tampa has not.
Tampa also had an emotional win against New York. I mean, that was amazing to see that win, right? And it's tough to come down from that. Can they start getting 1 minute? Now, listen, if Tampa wins tonight, I'm going to be a little bit nervous. And I'll be like, Tampa might be able to come out with this. But no, I don't know, man. Someone's pointing to Houston for me. I just like the Astros here.
Well, so that will do it for us. This is a little shorter video, probably around 40 minutes or so. So we just wanted to throw this out before the games start tonight. Now, Houston and Tampa Bay are in San Diego tonight. And then I believe they play consistently every day until the series is over. Same thing for the NL. They start Monday and they'll play consistently. So probably there'll be some games at 5 o'clock, which people won't like because it's around
Really.
work time. But that's what we have. Any last thoughts, Joe?
And then the National League, just to let the listeners know, because we probably won't come back to you until we do our next show, probably Friday night. And you'll see that one later on in the week. But the bottom line is Monday night, there's more baseball. Tomorrow night, they'll have the first game. It sounds like it's going to be the American League, the Rays and Astros, at about 4 o'clock. And then at 8 o'clock, under the lights in Texas, it's the Dodgers and Braves. Me and Derek will be texting back and forth about it. I'm excited for that series. But yeah, and then the show we did with our special guest will be coming out probably a couple of days right there.
Yep, that should be out on Tuesday. So everyone look for that. We appreciate everyone's support. As always, like, comment, send us an email if you want. Please check out our email address on our Facebook page. It is timeoutderekandjoe@gmail.com. If you don't feel like commenting, send us an email and maybe we can get to your question later on in the day or later on in the week. But as always, thank you, Joe, for being here. I am Derek Gano. This has been Time Out with Derek and Joe. Stay safe, take care. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend some time with us. Bye-bye.